Chapter 1. Your life reflects your level of self-control. Part 1. The mirror of reality. Imagine you are standing in a room surrounded by 4 mirrors. In the first mirror, you see your physical body, your energy levels, your posture, your health. In the second mirror, you see your bank account, the fruit of your labor and your spending habits. In the third, you see your relationships, the depth of your connections and the respect you command. In the fourth, you see your inner peace, the clarity or chaos of your mind. Most people look at these mirrors and blame the glass. They think their finances are a result of a bad economy. They think their health is a result of bad genetics. They think their stress is a result of a difficult boss. But they are wrong. The mirrors are not distorted. They are showing you a perfect, high-definition reflection of one thing: your level of self-control. Every single day, you are presented with a series of microscopic crossroads. Do you hit snooze, or do you stand up? Do you buy the coffee you can't afford, or do you save for the future? Do you snap back at your partner in anger, or do you breathe? These decisions seem small, almost invisible, but they are the architects of your destiny. Self-control is not a personality trait that some are born with and others are not. It is a muscle that is either being strengthened or allowed to atrophy. Repetition phrase: your life is a mirror of your discipline. Part 2. The myth of the grand success. We are obsessed with the big moment. We love the montage in the movie where the underdog trains for 3 minutes of screen time and becomes a champion. But in the real world, there are no montages. There is only the quiet, lonely repetition of the mundane. Consider the successful entrepreneur. We see the private jet, the magazine covers, and the billion-dollar exit. What we don't see is the 5 years spent in a cramped office, working while friends were at the bar. We don't see the 4 a.m. wake-up calls when the body was screaming for more sleep. Successful entrepreneurs like Tim Cook or Elon Musk are not fueled by a magical spark of motivation every day. They are fueled by a refusal to let their impulses dictate their schedule. When you look at a leader who remains calm while the company is losing millions, you aren't seeing a person who doesn't feel fear. You are seeing a person who has practiced the discipline of emotional regulation for decades. They win because they control their impulses when everyone else is surrendering to them. Think about the professional athlete. Take someone like Kobe Bryant. His legendary Mamba mentality wasn't about flashy dunks. It was about arriving at the gym at 4 a.m. to practice the same basic footwork for 3 hours before his teammates even woke up. When he was tired, when he was sore, when he was bored, he stayed. He knew that the championship was won in the dark, quiet hours when no one was watching. Most people chase comfort. They want the path of least resistance. But comfort is a trap. It feels good in the moment, but it leaves you weak, broke, and unfulfilled. The disciplined person understands a fundamental truth: comfort is the enemy of growth. Part 3. The science of the choice. Why is this so hard? Why does our brain crave the cookie when we want the six-pack? Why do we want to scroll Instagram when we need to write that report? Biologically, your brain is a battleground. You have the prefrontal cortex, the logical, evolved part of your brain that wants success and health. And you have the limbic system, the primal, ancient part of your brain that wants calories, safety, and instant pleasure. Every time you exercise self-control, you are training the prefrontal cortex to override the limbic system. You are literally rewiring your brain. This is why the first week of a new habit is excruciating, but the 100th day is automatic. But here is the danger. Every time you give in to an impulse, you are also training your brain. You are teaching yourself that your word doesn't matter. You are teaching your brain that "I'll do it tomorrow" is an acceptable lie. When you lose control over the small things, you lose the right to command the big things. Repetition phrase: your life is a mirror of your discipline. Part 4. The power of the vote. Think of every decision you make today as a vote. When you choose to go for a run despite the rain, you are casting a vote for a healthy person. When you choose to work on your side business instead of watching Netflix, you are casting a vote for a wealthy person. When you choose to listen instead of interrupting, you are casting a vote for a respected leader. You don't need to be perfect to win. You just need a majority of the votes. If you spend 51% of your day being disciplined, you are slowly moving towards success. If you spend 90% of your day being disciplined, you become unstoppable. Self-control is not a dramatic event. It's not a speech given on a battlefield. It is 1,000 quiet choices made in the dark. It is the decision to keep your mouth shut when you are insulted. It is the decision to keep your wallet closed when you see something you want but don't need. It is the decision to do the work when you don't feel like it. If you don't like what you see in the mirror of your life right now, don't try to break the mirror. Don't try to change the reflection. Change the person standing in front of it. Change the discipline that created the reflection in the first place. Part 5. Summary and Application. As we close this first chapter, take a moment to look at your life honestly. Where have you been chasing comfort? Where have you been letting your impulses hold the steering wheel? Identify one area today, just one, where you will refuse to give in to your immediate desire. If you want to eat, wait 10 minutes. If you want to check your phone, finish one more task first. Start casting your votes. Because at the end of the year, at the end of a decade, and at the end of your life, the mirror will not lie. It will show you exactly who you were disciplined enough to become. Repetition phrase: your life is a mirror of your discipline. Chapter 2. Stop reacting to everything. Part 1. The remote-controlled life. Have you ever stopped to consider how much of your day is actually yours? Think about the first thing you do when you wake up. For most people, the alarm goes off, and within seconds, they are reaching for their smartphone. They check their notifications. They see a stressful email from a boss. They see a controversial headline on the news. They see a photo on social media of someone living a life that seems better than theirs. Before their feet have even touched the floor, they are in reaction mode. Their heart rate is up, their stress levels are spiking, and their mood for the day has been decided by a stranger or a software algorithm. This is the reaction trap. When you live in reaction mode, you have surrendered your power to the outside world. You are like a boat without a rudder, tossed around by every wave of gossip, every gust of criticism, and every storm of bad news. If someone insults you, you get angry. If the stock market drops, you panic. If your phone pings, you jump. In this state, you are not a leader, you are a puppet. And the world holds the strings. The disciplined individual knows that to reclaim their life, they must first reclaim their response. Repetition phrase: power lives in the pause. Part 2. The biology of the hijack. To stop reacting, we must understand why we do it in the first place. Inside your brain is a small, almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. This is your body's alarm system. For our ancestors, the amygdala was a lifesaver. If a predator jumped out from the bushes, the amygdala triggered a fight or flight response instantly. There was no time to sit and think. You had to react to survive. The problem is that in the modern world, our amygdala cannot tell the difference between a mountain lion and a rude comment on a Facebook post. It treats a passive-aggressive email from a coworker with the same biological urgency as a physical threat to our lives. When you feel that heat rising in your chest, that tightening in your throat, and that urge to snap back or hit send on a nasty message, that is an amygdala hijack. Your rational brain, the prefrontal cortex, has been taken offline. You are operating on primitive instinct. Self-control is the ability to recognize the hijack while it is happening and refuse to let it take the wheel. It is the transition from being a reactive creature to being a responsive creator. Part 3. Social media and the death of reflection. Nowhere is the lack of self-control more visible than on the internet. Social media platforms are engineered to bypass your rational mind and trigger your reactive instincts. They want you to feel outraged. They want you to feel jealous. They want you to react instantly, to comment, to share, to argue. Think about the last time you saw a social media argument. Two people who have never met, screaming at each other in a comment section. Did either of them win? No, both of them lost. They lost their time, they lost their peace of mind, and they lost their dignity. They reacted because their ego felt threatened, and they lacked the self-control to simply keep scrolling. The disciplined individual understands that not every opinion requires a response. Not every insult requires a defense. In fact, most things in life do not require your energy at all. When you react to everything, you are giving away your most valuable currency, your attention, for free. Repetition phrase. Power lives in the pause. Part 4. The strategic pause. The legendary psychologist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl once wrote, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." That space is what we call the pause. The pause is the hallmark of the elite. Imagine a high-stakes negotiator in a room. The other side makes a ridiculous demand or hurls an insult to rattle them. A weak negotiator reacts. They get defensive, they get loud, or they fold. But a master negotiator, they do something uncomfortable. They sit in silence. They pause. By pausing, they maintain control of the room. They allow the other person's emotions to burn out. They use that space to think logically. What is my goal here? Does reacting help me reach that goal? No. This applies to your personal life as well. When your partner says something that hurts your feelings, pause for 3 seconds before you speak. When you receive a stressful text, put the phone down for 10 minutes before you reply. When you feel the urge to eat junk food because you're stressed, wait 15 minutes. In those seconds or minutes of waiting, the amygdala hijack fades. The hot state cools down. You regain access to your wisdom. You realize that a reactive outburst might feel good for 5 seconds, but the damage it does to your reputation or your relationships could last for 5 years. Part 5. Managing emotional outbursts at work. Let's look at a real-world example in a professional setting. Imagine you are in a meeting, and a colleague takes credit for your work. Your immediate reaction is a surge of hot anger. You want to interrupt them, call them a liar, and humiliate them in front of the boss. If you react, you look unstable. You look like you can't handle pressure. You become the problem in the eyes of the management. However, if you utilize the pause, you stay calm. You wait until they are finished. You take a breath. Then, you respond intentionally. "I'm glad you brought up those points, as they align perfectly with the data I gathered during my research phase of this project. Let's look at how we can move forward together." In this scenario, you have kept your power. You have subtly reclaimed your work without losing your composure. You won because you refused to be baited into a reaction. Part 6. Training the pause. How do we build this pause muscle? Like any form of self-control, it requires deliberate practice. Exercise 1. The 10-second rule. For the next 24 hours, commit to waiting 10 seconds before responding to any triggering event. If someone cuts you off in traffic, wait 10 seconds before honking or shouting. If you get a frustrating email, wait 10 seconds before typing a word. Exercise 2. Box breathing. When you feel a reaction coming on, your breathing becomes shallow. This signals to your brain that you are in danger. You can hack your nervous system by doing box breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4, and hold for 4. This physically forces your body out of reaction mode and back into control mode. Exercise 3. The so what? Filter. Before reacting, ask yourself, will this matter in a year? In a month? Even in a week? If the answer is no, and it usually is, then a reaction is a waste of your life. Part 7. The freedom of non-reaction. There is a profound sense of freedom that comes when you stop reacting. You begin to realize that other people's moods do not have to become your moods. Other people's chaos does not have to become your chaos. You become like a mountain. The wind blows, the rain falls, the lightning strikes, but the mountain remains. It does not move. It does not argue with the storm. It simply is. When you master the pause, you become unshakable. People will notice. They will see that you are the one who stays calm when the office is in a panic. They will see that you are the one who listens while others are shouting. They will see that you are the one who cannot be manipulated by provocations. This is the ultimate form of self-control. It is the refusal to be a slave to your environment. From this day forward, when a stimulus hits you, remember that you have a choice. You have a space. You have a pause. Use it. Repetition phrase. Power lives in the pause. Chapter 3. Train your mind to resist instant gratification. Part 1. The dopamine slot machine. Take a moment and think about the last time you felt a genuine sense of boredom. Truly bored. No phone in your hand, no music in your ears, no television in the background. Just you, sitting in a chair, staring at a wall or out a window. For most of us, that experience feels almost impossible to find. In the modern world, boredom has been eradicated, but it has been replaced by something far more dangerous, a constant, low-level addiction to instant gratification. We live in an age of the dopamine slot machine. Every time you refresh your social media feed, you are pulling the lever. Every time you order a meal with a single tap on an app, you are pulling the lever. Every time you skip the hard work to watch a trending video, you are pulling the lever. Your brain receives a hit of dopamine, the chemical of more, and for a split second, you feel a tiny spark of pleasure. But dopamine is a liar. It doesn't provide satisfaction. It provides a craving for the next hit. And while you are busy chasing these micro-pleasures, your long-term dreams are quietly dying in the corner. The modern world is literally designed to weaken your discipline. It wants you impulsive. It wants you hungry for the now. Because a person who cannot wait is a person who can be easily sold to, manipulated, and controlled. Repetition phrase: comfort now, pain later. Discipline now, freedom later. Part 2. The marshmallow and the map of success. To understand how to fight back, we have to look at one of the most famous psychological studies in history, the Stanford marshmallow test. In the late 1960s, a researcher named Walter Miskell placed a single marshmallow in front of a series of 4-year-old children. He gave them a simple deal: I have to leave the room for a few minutes. If you can wait until I come back without eating the marshmallow, I will give you a second one. If you eat it now, you don't get the second one. Watch the footage of these kids, and you see the human struggle in its purest form. They kick their legs. They cover their eyes. They sniff the marshmallow. They stroke it. Some give in within seconds. Others hold out for the full 15 minutes. But the real magic of the study happened decades later. The researchers followed these children into adulthood. The children who were able to delay their gratification, those who waited for the second marshmallow, grew up to have higher SAT scores, lower levels of substance abuse, lower body mass indexes, and a better ability to handle stress. Why? Because the ability to delay gratification is the master skill of life. It is the ability to tell your current self to shut up so that your future self can succeed. If you cannot win the war against a marshmallow, you cannot win the war against poverty, or ill health, or mediocrity. Part 3. The architecture of the trade-off. Every decision you make is a trade-off between the present and the future. When you choose instant gratification, you are borrowing happiness from tomorrow to pay for a cheap thrill today. Let's look at the 3 pillars of life: health, wealth, and wisdom. In health, instant gratification is the taste of the donut. It lasts 30 seconds. Delayed gratification is the feeling of being lean, energetic, and strong. It lasts a lifetime. To get the lifetime reward, you have to endure the 30 seconds of no. In wealth, instant gratification is buying the new car on credit to look successful today. Delayed gratification is investing that money into an index fund and living below your means. The instant path leads to a hard life of debt and anxiety. The delayed path leads to an easy life of financial freedom. In wisdom, instant gratification is scrolling through 100 hot takes on Twitter. It gives you the illusion of being informed. Delayed gratification is sitting down with a 400-page book on history or economics. It's harder. It's slower. But at the end of that book, you possess actual knowledge, whereas the scroller possesses only a fragmented attention span. Repetition phrase: comfort now, pain later. Discipline now, freedom later. Part 4. Rewiring the wanting brain. You might think, I'm just not a disciplined person. I've always been impulsive. But neuroplasticity tells us otherwise. Your brain is not a stone carving. It is like plastic that can be reshaped. When you consistently choose the instant reward, you strengthen the neural pathways of impulsivity. You are making it easier to fail next time. However, every time you say no to an impulse, you are physically strengthening the prefrontal cortex, the CEO of your brain. You are building discipline muscle. Think of it like weightlifting. If you want to bench press 300 pounds, you don't start there. You start with the bar. If you want to be a person of immense self-control, you start by delaying the small things. If you feel the urge to check your phone while you're mid-sentence in a project, wait 60 seconds. That's your weightlifting set. If you are standing in line at the grocery store and feel the itch to pull out your phone to kill the boredom, resist it. Stand there. Be bored. By refusing the hit of dopamine in that small moment, you are preparing your brain for the big moments, like staying calm during a business crisis or staying committed to a year-long fitness goal. Part 5. The pain of discipline versus the pain of regret. We must be honest. Discipline hurts. It is not fun to go to the gym when it's cold outside. It is not fun to say no to the party so you can study for your certification. It is a form of temporary pain. But there are two types of pain in this world. There is the pain of discipline, which weighs ounces. And there is the pain of regret, which weighs tons. The pain of discipline lasts for an hour at the gym. The pain of regret, the feeling of looking in the mirror 5 years from now and seeing a body that has fallen apart, that pain lasts forever. The pain of discipline is the struggle to save money. The pain of regret is being 60 years old with no retirement savings and realizing you are a burden to your children. The disciplined individual chooses their pain. They choose the small pain of the now to avoid the devastating pain of the later. Repetition phrase: comfort now, pain later. Discipline now, freedom later. Part 6. Practical drills for the delayed mind. How do we put this into practice today? Here are 3 blueprint drills to train your mind to resist instant gratification. Drill 1. The 24-hour rule. If you see something online that you want to buy, anything that isn't a necessity, you must wait 24 hours before hitting buy. Usually, by the next morning, the dopamine spike has faded and you'll realize you didn't actually want the item. You just wanted the hit of the purchase. Drill 2. The just 10 minutes technique. When you have a hard task to do, like cleaning or working, and your brain is screaming for a distraction, tell yourself, I will do the hard task for just 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I am allowed to stop. Usually, the hardest part is the transition. Once you start, the urge for instant gratification fades. Drill 3. Intentional discomfort. Once a day, do something that is slightly uncomfortable on purpose. Take a cold shower. Park at the back of the parking lot so you have to walk further. Eat your meal without looking at a screen. These small acts of voluntary hardship prove to your brain that you are in control, not your desires. Part 7. The freedom of the mastered mind. Most people think that the person who gives in to every whim is free. They eat what they want, they sleep when they want, they buy what they want. But they aren't free. They are slaves to their biology. They are at the mercy of their moods and their sugar levels and their social media feeds. True freedom is found in self-mastery. When you can tell your body no, you are finally free to go wherever your mind wants to take you. You are free to build a business, free to build a masterpiece, and free to build a life you are proud of. As you go through your day-to-day, look for the marshmallows. Look for the moments where the world is offering you a cheap, instant reward. And remember the blueprint. Choose the discipline of the now so you can enjoy the freedom of the forever. Repetition phrase: comfort now, pain later. Discipline now, freedom later. Chapter 4. Control your attention or lose your life. Part 1. The invisible currency. If I were to walk up to you on the street and ask for $1,000, you would likely say no and walk away. You protect your money. You lock your doors to protect your possessions. You sign contracts to protect your time. But there is one asset you have that is more valuable than your money, your car, or your house, and you are likely giving it away for free to anyone who asks for it. That asset is your attention. In the modern world, attention is the ultimate currency. There are entire buildings in Silicon Valley filled with the world's smartest engineers, psychologists, and data scientists. Their only job, their entire reason for existing, is to figure out how to steal 5 more seconds of your attention. They want your eyes on their screen. They want your mind in their app. They want your click, your like, and your scroll. Why? Because where your attention goes, your energy flows. And where your energy flows, your life follows. If you cannot control where you look, you cannot control where you go. If your attention is fragmented, your life will be fragmented. You cannot build a masterpiece, a business, a relationship, or a body if you are constantly being pulled away by the ping of a notification. Repetition phrase: where attention goes, life follows. Part 2. The tragedy of the fragmented mind. Most people today suffer from what researchers call continuous partial attention. This is the state of being constantly plugged in but never fully present. You are having dinner with your family, but your mind is on a work email. You are at work, but your mind is on a social media argument. You are trying to read a book, but you check your phone every 3 pages. This isn't just a bad habit, it is a neurological disaster. When your attention is fragmented, your brain never reaches a state of flow. Flow is that deep, immersion-level focus where time disappears and your best work happens. High-level athletes, surgeons, and artists all rely on flow. But flow requires a minimum of 20 minutes of uninterrupted focus just to enter the waiting room of deep thought. If you check your phone every 10 minutes, you are effectively lobotomizing your own potential. You are living in the shallows. In the shallows, you can perform easy tasks like answering emails or filing papers, but you cannot solve complex problems or create anything of lasting value. The person who can sit in a room for 4 hours and focus on one single problem is the person who will eventually own the company. The person who can't sit for 4 minutes without checking their notifications will eventually be replaced by an algorithm. Part 3. The myth of multitasking. We have been lied to. We were told that multitasking is a skill and a sign of productivity. The truth is that the human brain cannot multitask. It can only task switch. When you are writing a report and stop to check a text message, your brain has to disconnect from the report and connect to the text. When you go back to the report, there is something called attention residue. Part of your brain is still thinking about the text message. Research shows that it can take up to 23 minutes to fully regain your original level of focus after a single distraction. If you multitask all day, you are essentially driving a car while constantly slamming on the brakes and then trying to accelerate again. You are burning massive amounts of mental fuel, but you aren't actually going anywhere. This is why you can work an 8-hour day and feel exhausted, yet realize you haven't actually accomplished anything meaningful. You didn't work, you just switched until your brain ran out of gas. Repetition phrase: where attention goes, life follows. Part 4. The biological cost of stimulation. Why is it so hard to look away? Our brains are wired for novelty. In the ancestral environment, a new sound or a flash of movement could mean food or a predator. We are biologically programmed to pay attention to the new. Social media companies have hijacked this biological hardware. They provide variable rewards. When you pull down to refresh your feed, you don't know if you're going to see something boring or something exciting. It's the exact same psychology as a slot machine in Las Vegas. The uncertainty creates a dopamine spike. Over time, this constant stimulation raises your dopamine baseline. This means that normal, productive activities, like reading a deep book, having a long conversation, or working on a difficult project, start to feel boring. Your brain is literally starving for the next high-speed hit of digital junk food. To regain self-control, you must go through a period of digital detox. You must retrain your brain to find pleasure in the slow, the quiet, and the deep. Part 5. Building your focus fortress. Self-control is not just a mental effort, it is an environmental design. You cannot willpower your way through a world designed to distract you. You must build a focus fortress. Step 1. Eliminate the ping. Notifications are the enemy of mastery. Unless it is a phone call from a family member in an emergency, you do not need a notification for it. Turn off all badges, sounds, and banners for social media, news, and email. You should choose when to check your messages. Your messages should not choose when to interrupt your life. Step 2. The phone jail. When you are working, your phone should not be on your desk. Even if it is face down, studies show that the mere presence of a smartphone reduces cognitive capacity. It is a brain drain. Put it in another room. Lock it in a drawer. Physically remove the temptation. Step 3. Monotasking. Practice the rule of one. One tab open on your computer. One task on your desk. One goal for the hour. When you find your mind wandering, and it will, do not judge yourself. Simply notice the thought and gently bring your attention back to the one. Repetition phrase. Where attention goes, life follows. Part 6. Deep work and the elite. Think of the most successful people you know or admire. Whether they are world-class developers like Bill Gates, prolific authors like J.K. Rowling, or legendary investors like Warren Buffett, they all share one superpower: the ability to focus deeply for long periods. Bill Gates used to think weeks where he would go to a cabin in the woods with nothing but books and a notepad. No computer, no phone, no distractions. He knew that his most valuable insights didn't come from being busy, they came from being focused. In an economy where everyone is distracted, the person who can focus becomes an elite outlier. Focus is the new IQ. Focus is the new talent. If you can master your attention, you can learn any skill, solve any problem, and outcompete anyone who is busy checking their likes. Part 7. The final warning. We often say we spend time, but we don't. We spend our attention. Time is just the container. Attention is the content. If you have 80 years of life, but 40 of those years are spent in a distracted, reactive fog, you haven't really lived 80 years. You've lived 40. Every time you look at a screen instead of the person you love, you are losing your life. Every time you scroll through a stranger's vacation photos instead of building your own dream, you are losing your life. Every time you let an algorithm decide what you should think about, you are losing your life. Reclaiming your attention is an act of revolution. It is the most fundamental form of self-control. Starting today, guard your focus like a hawk guards its nest. Be ruthless with your no and intentional with your yes. Because at the end of the day, your life will not be the sum of the things you wanted to do. Your life will be the sum of the things you paid attention to. Repetition phrase. Where attention goes, life follows. Chapter 5. Master the discipline of silence. Part 1. The noise of the week. We live in a world that cannot stop talking. From the 24-hour news cycle to the endless stream of stories on social media, we are conditioned to believe that if we aren't speaking, we aren't being heard. We feel an almost pathological need to share our opinions, to defend our reputations, and to fill every awkward silence with the sound of our own voices. But have you ever noticed that the most powerful person in a room is rarely the loudest? In fact, the person who speaks the most is often the one with the least control. Constant talking is frequently a mask for insecurity. It is a frantic attempt to prove one's intelligence, to seek validation, or to hide a lack of actual substance. When you speak impulsively, you are leaking power. You are giving away your thoughts, your intentions, and your weaknesses for free. The disciplined individual understands that silence is not just a lack of sound. Silence is a strategic tool. It is a shield that protects your inner world and a sword that cuts through the noise of others. To master yourself, you must first master the discipline of your tongue. Repetition phrase. Silence is control. Part 2. The ego's trap. Why do we find silence so uncomfortable? Why do we feel the urge to explain ourselves when we are misunderstood? Why do we feel the need to win every trivial argument? The answer is the ego. Your ego thrives on being right. It wants to be seen, heard, and acknowledged. When someone challenges you or ignores you, the ego feels a threat and demands that you speak up to defend your status. But every time you give in to that urge, you are handing the remote control of your emotions to someone else. If a stranger can make you angry enough to shout, they own you. If a critic can make you write a 5-paragraph defense of your character, they are the master and you are the servant. True self-control is the ability to walk away from an argument that doesn't matter. It is the ability to hear a lie about yourself and feel no need to correct it because your self-worth isn't tied to their perception. When you remain silent in the face of provocation, you aren't losing. You are demonstrating a level of internal stability that the other person cannot comprehend. Part 3. The strategic advantage of the quiet mind. In the world of high-level negotiation, Silence is a lethal weapon. There is a technique known as the dead air. Most people are so uncomfortable with silence that they will do anything to fill it. A master negotiator will state their price and then, nothing. They sit. They look the other person in the eye. They don't fidget. They don't explain. They just wait. The other person, feeling the crushing weight of the silence, will often begin to ramble. They start making excuses, revealing their bottom line, or even lowering their own price just to break the tension. Because they lack the self-control to be quiet, they lose the deal. This applies to leadership as well. A great leader, like Abraham Lincoln or Barack Obama, was often noted for their deliberate pauses. By taking 3 seconds to think before answering a question, they signaled that their words were weighted, measured, and valuable. When you speak less, every word you do say carries 10 times the impact. Repetition phrase: silence is control. Part 4. Observe more, reveal less. There is an old saying, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. When you are talking, you are only repeating what you already know. When you are silent, you are learning. The disciplined person is a professional observer. By staying quiet, you can read the room. You can see the micro-expressions on people's faces. You can hear the subtext behind what they are saying. You can identify who is lying, who is nervous, and who actually holds the power. Think of silence as a data collection phase. While everyone else is busy trying to be the center of attention, you are gathering the intelligence required to make the right move. Furthermore, by keeping your plans and intentions to yourself, you remain unpredictable. As Robert Greene points out in the 48 Laws of Power, always say less than necessary. If people don't know exactly what you're thinking, they cannot move against you. Silence is the ultimate cloak of privacy in a world that wants to expose everything. Part 5. Refusing the bait of negativity. We all encounter energy vampires, people who thrive on drama, gossip, and conflict. They want to draw you into their chaos. They will say something inflammatory or tag you in a digital debate just to get a reaction. Reactive people take the bait every time. They spend their energy arguing with people they don't even like about things that don't even matter. The disciplined person sees the bait and simply swims past it. They realize that their silence is the most frustrating response a troll or a toxic person can receive. Silence says, "You are not important enough to warrant my energy." Silence says, "I am the master of my attention." Refusing to argue isn't a sign of weakness, it is a sign of supreme confidence. You don't need to bark back at every dog that barks at you. You have a destination to reach. Repetition phrase: silence is control. Part 6. The discipline of internal silence. Control of the tongue is the first step, but the ultimate goal is control of the mind. Even when we are physically silent, our minds are often screaming. We are rehearsing imaginary arguments, worrying about the future, or replaying the past. This internal noise drains your willpower just as much as physical talking does. To truly master the blueprint of self-control, you must learn to silence the inner chatter. This is why practices like meditation or mindfulness are not just for monks, they are for warriors. Learning to sit in a room alone and be quiet with your own thoughts is the ultimate test of discipline. If you cannot stand your own company without the distraction of a screen or a conversation, you are not yet free. When you can quiet the internal noise, you gain a bird's-eye view of your life. You see your impulses as they arise, but you don't have to follow them. You become the silent observer of your own life. Part 7. Practical drills for mastering silence. How do we cultivate this power? Try these 3 silence drills this week. Drill 1. The 3-second rule. In every conversation today, wait 3 full seconds before you respond to anything anyone says. Even if it's a simple question. Use that time to breathe and ensure your response is intentional, not just a reflex. Drill 2. The speak-only value test. Before you open your mouth, ask yourself, is what I am about to say more valuable than the silence it is breaking? If the answer is no, if it's just gossip, complaining, or bragging, keep it inside. Drill 3. The 24-hour secret. Choose a goal or a project you are working on. Commit to not telling a single person about it for 24 hours. Notice the itch to tell someone so you can get their praise. Resist it. Let the energy of that secret fuel your work instead of being leaked through your words. Part 8. The Aura of Mastery. When you begin to master silence, people will treat you differently. They will lean in when you speak. They will respect your boundaries more. They will perceive you as someone with deep gravitas, a person of substance and weight. Silence builds a wall of respect around you. It shows that you are not desperate for attention. It shows that you are not easily rattled. It shows that you are in total command of your internal state. As you move through your day, remember that your words are your wealth. Don't spend them on people or situations that don't deserve them. Guard your peace. Guard your power. Repetition phrase. Silence is control. Chapter 6. Build daily systems, not temporary motivation. Part 1. The Motivation Trap. We have all experienced the midnight surge. It's 11:30 p.m., you're lying in bed, and suddenly, you feel a wave of intense motivation. You decide that tomorrow is the day everything changes. You're going to wake up at 5 a.m., go for a 5-mile run, eat nothing but kale, and work 10 hours straight on your business. You feel invincible. You feel like a new person. Then, 5 a.m. arrives. The room is cold. Your bed is warm. The midnight surge is gone, replaced by a heavy, foggy desire to sleep for just 10 more minutes. In that moment, your motivation has abandoned you. And because you relied on a feeling to drive your actions, you hit the snooze button. You fail before the day has even begun. This is the motivation trap. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are the most unreliable foundation in the world. Motivation is like a fair weather friend. It's there when the sun is shining and things are easy, but it vanishes the moment things get difficult, boring, or uncomfortable. The disciplined individual knows a secret that the amateur does not. Self-control is not about having more motivation. It is about needing less of it. We achieve this by building systems. Repetition phrase. You don't rise to motivation. You fall to your systems. Part 2. Goals versus systems. In our culture, we are obsessed with goals. We are told to set big, hairy, audacious goals. We focus on the finish line, the six-pack abs, the $1 million bank account, the published book. But goals have a fundamental flaw. They are about the future. They are about a result you don't yet have. A system, however, is about the present. It is the repeatable process that makes the result inevitable. If you are a coach, your goal is to win a championship. Your system is the way you recruit players, manage assistants, and conduct practice every day. If you are a writer, your goal is to finish a novel. Your system is the 500 words you write every morning at 8 a.m., regardless of how inspired you feel. If you focus only on the goal, you spend most of your time in a state of failure because you haven't reached the finish line yet. But when you focus on the system, you can win every single day just by following the process. Self-control becomes easier when the choice is already made by the system. Part 3. The Architecture of Choice. Why do systems work where motivation fails? It comes down to decision fatigue. Every choice you make during the day, what to wear, what to eat, which email to answer first, drains a tiny bit of your mental energy. By the time you get to the end of the day, your self-control tank is empty. This is why most people cheat on their diets at dinner, not at breakfast. A system is a way of pre-deciding. When you have a fixed morning routine, you don't have to decide whether to exercise. The system has already decided for you. When you have a scheduled work block, you don't have to decide whether to focus. The system has already cleared the path. Think of Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg wearing the same outfit every day. They weren't making a fashion statement. They were protecting their self-control. They removed a low-value decision from their day so they could save their mental energy for high-value decisions. They built a system for their wardrobe so they didn't have to rely on their willpower to get dressed. Repetition phrase. You don't rise to motivation. You fall to your systems. Part 4. Designing the frictionless path. Self-control is often a battle against friction. If you want to go to the gym, but your gym bag isn't packed, your shoes are in the closet, and you haven't picked a workout plan, there is too much friction. Your brain will use that friction as an excuse to stay on the couch. The disciplined person uses systems to reduce friction for good habits and increase friction for bad ones. Example 1. The morning system. If you want to exercise first thing in the morning, lay your clothes out right next to your bed the night before. Put your water bottle on the nightstand. Set your alarm across the room so you have to physically stand up to turn it off. By the time the alarm goes off, the system has already moved you halfway to your goal. Example 2. The deep work system. If you struggle with distractions at work, your system might be: phone goes in the kitchen drawer at 9 a.m. Browser tabs are closed except for the primary task. Headphones go on. You aren't trying to focus. You have created a system where focus is the only option. Example 3. The nutrition system. Don't rely on willpower to avoid junk food at 9 p.m. while you're watching TV. Your system should be: never buy junk food at the grocery store. If it's not in the house, you don't need self-control to avoid eating it. You only needed self-control for the 10 minutes you were in the snack aisle. Part 5. The power of the routine. High achievers are almost always creatures of habit. They understand that routines are the tracks that the train of success runs on. Consider a professional pilot. They don't rely on feeling like checking the engines. They have a pre-flight checklist, a system. They follow it every single time, whether they are tired, bored, or excited. You must create a checklist for your life. What is your morning routine? The system for starting the engine. What is your deep work block? The system for moving the needle. What is your evening shutdown? The system for recovery and preparation. When these routines become automatic, they stop requiring self-control. They become muscle memory. Just as you don't need discipline to brush your teeth, you eventually won't need discipline to sit down and do your hardest work. The system has taken over. Repetition phrase. You don't rise to motivation. You fall to your systems. Part 6. Managing system failure. A common mistake people make is becoming too rigid. They build a system, and then the first time life gets in the way, a sick child, a car breakdown, a late meeting, they throw the whole system away. Well, they say, I missed my morning run, so the whole day is ruined. I might as well eat pizza for lunch. This is all or nothing thinking, and it is the enemy of long-term self-control. A truly resilient system has built-in flexibility. It has a plan B. If your system is a 60-minute gym session, but you only have 10 minutes, your emergency system is 50 push-ups and a plank. The goal of a system isn't perfection. It is continuity. Never miss twice. If your system breaks today, your only job is to get back on the tracks tomorrow. Self-control is the ability to forgive yourself for a slip-up while refusing to let that slip-up become a slide. Part 7. The compounding interest of systems. Systems are the compound interest of self-control. A 1% improvement in your daily routine doesn't feel like much on Tuesday. But over a year, that 1% improvement compounds into a 37-fold increase in your capabilities. Motivation gives you a spike of activity that inevitably crashes. Systems give you a slope of progress that eventually becomes exponential. When you look at someone who seems to have superhuman discipline, you aren't looking at someone who is constantly fighting a war with themselves. You are looking at someone who won the war months ago by building a system that now does the work for them. They aren't trying to be disciplined. They are just following the script they wrote for themselves. Part 8. Action steps. To move from motivation to systems today, do the following. Identify one area of your life where you are inconsistent. Is it your fitness? Your finances? Your focus? Look for the friction. Why are you failing? What decisions are you having to make in the moment that are draining your energy? Build a 3-step system to automate that area. If it's fitness, step 1 is pack bag at night. Step 2 is leave bag in the car. Step 3 is go to the gym directly after work, no going home first. Write it down. A system that lives only in your head is just a wish. A system that is written down is a contract. Stop waiting to feel like it. Stop waiting for the midnight surge. Build the tracks. Set the clock. Trust the process. Repetition phrase. You don't rise to motivation. You fall to your systems. Chapter 7. Emotional discipline is real power. Part 1. The myth of the stone face. There is a common misconception about what it means to be a disciplined person. Many people imagine a cold, robotic individual, someone who doesn't feel pain, doesn't get angry, and never feels the sting of rejection. They imagine a person made of stone. But this is a myth. And frankly, it is a dangerous one. True emotional discipline is not about the absence of emotion. It is not about bottling things up or suppressing your feelings until you explode. Suppression is a form of weakness. It is a temporary dam holding back a flood that will eventually destroy everything in its path. Real emotional power is about mastery. It is the ability to feel the full spectrum of human emotion, the heat of anger, the cold shiver of fear, the crushing weight of sadness, and yet to remain the master of your actions. It is the ability to acknowledge the storm without letting it capsize your ship. When you have emotional discipline, you are no longer a slave to your moods. You stop saying things you regret. You stop making impulsive decisions based on temporary feelings. You become the eye of the hurricane. Repetition phrase. Feel everything. React to nothing. Part 2. Emotions are data, not directives. To master your emotions, you must first change how you view them. Most people view emotions as directives. If they feel angry, their brain tells them, you must shout. If they feel hurt, their brain tells them, you must withdraw. If they feel lazy, their brain tells them, you must stay in bed. The disciplined individual views emotions as data. Think of an emotion like a light on your car's dashboard. If the low fuel light comes on, you don't panic. You don't scream at the light. You don't let the light drive the car. You simply acknowledge the information. I am low on fuel. I should find a gas station. Anger is data that tells you a boundary has been crossed. Fear is data that tells you there is a perceived risk. Sadness is data that tells you that you have lost something of value. The data is useful, but the light should never hold the steering wheel. Your logic, your prefrontal cortex, is the driver. When an emotion arises, your job is to look at it, identify what it is telling you, and then decide, rationally, what the best course of action is. Sometimes, the best action is to do nothing at all. Part 3. The high cost of emotional impulsivity. We see the lack of emotional discipline everywhere. We see it in the road rage incident that ends in a senseless tragedy. We see it in the professional who ruins a 20-year career because they couldn't handle a piece of criticism in a meeting and lashed out at their boss. We see it in the parent who screams at their child out of frustration, causing wounds that will take decades to heal. Every time you act on a raw emotion, you are gambling with your future. You are allowing a temporary version of yourself to make permanent decisions for your life. Consider the story of a high-level executive who received a scathing, unfair email from a competitor. His immediate emotion was a surge of adrenaline and fury. His ego demanded blood. He sat down and typed out a devastating, insulting reply. If he had hit send, he would have sparked a legal battle and tarnished his company's reputation. But he practiced the blueprint. He felt the anger. He let it sit in his chest like a hot coal. He didn't suppress it, he observed it. He waited 2 hours. By then, the fire had died down to embers. He deleted the draft and sent a short, professional, and terrifyingly calm response that ended the conflict before it began. He won because he refused to let his temporary anger dictate his permanent reputation. Repetition phrase. Feel everything. React to nothing. Part 4. Managing the sting of criticism. One of the hardest tests of emotional discipline is the sting of criticism. When someone tells us we are wrong, or that our work isn't good enough, our biological status feels threatened. We feel the urge to defend, to justify, or to attack the messenger. But think about the most powerful people in history. When Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, was criticized, he didn't use his power to execute his critics. He used his power to examine his own mind. He famously said, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change. I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone." The person who continues in his self-deception and ignorance is the one who is harmed. When you are criticized, your discipline is your shield. The pause. Don't speak for 5 seconds. The filter. Separate the content of the message from the tone. Even if the person is being rude, is there a grain of truth in what they said? The response, if the criticism is valid, thank them and improve. If it is invalid, ignore it. To get angry at a critic is to give them power over you. To remain calm is to remain their superior. Part 5. The Observer Technique. How do we actually do this in the heat of the moment? There is a psychological tool used by elite performers called cognitive diffusion, or what we call the observer technique. Most people say, "I am angry." This phrasing is a problem because it identifies you as the emotion. You and the anger are one. The disciplined person says, "I notice that I am experiencing a feeling of anger." This tiny shift in language creates a gap. You are no longer the anger. You are the person watching the anger. You become the scientist observing a chemical reaction in a test tube. You can feel the heat, you can see the bubbles, but you are not in the test tube. When you observe your emotions from a distance, they lose their power to compel you. You can watch the anger peak and then watch it fade away. You realize that emotions are like clouds. They pass through the sky of your mind, but they are not the sky itself. Repetition phrase. Feel everything. React to nothing. Part 6. Composure during failure. Failure is an emotional minefield. When we fail at a goal, we feel shame, embarrassment, and a sense of worthlessness. For many, these emotions are so painful that they quit. They would rather stop trying than feel that sting again. But emotional discipline allows you to separate your identity from your results. If you lose a game, you are not a loser. You are a person who lost a game. If your business fails, you are not a failure. You are an entrepreneur whose current model didn't work. When you have emotional discipline, failure becomes a cold event. You look at the data, you analyze the mistakes, and you move forward. You don't waste energy on self-pity or wallowing. Wallowing is a luxury that the disciplined person cannot afford. It is a form of self-indulgence that solves nothing. The Mamba mentality of Kobe Bryant was exactly this. After a devastating loss, he didn't go home and cry about how unfair it was. He was in the gym at 4 a.m. the next morning. He used the emotion as fuel, but he didn't let the emotion cloud his judgment. Part 7. The 90-second rule. Neuroscientist Dr. Jill Bolt Taylor discovered something fascinating. The chemical process of an emotion, from the moment it is triggered to the moment it is completely washed out of the bloodstream, lasts only 90 seconds. If you feel angry for longer than 90 seconds, it is because you are choosing to keep that emotion alive by thinking about it, ruminating on it, and feeding the fire with your thoughts. The next time you feel a surge of intense emotion, look at your watch. Tell yourself, "I just have to ride this wave for 90 seconds. Breathe. Let the chemicals flush through your system. Do not speak. Do not type. Do not decide. Once those 90 seconds are up, you will find that the urge to react has diminished significantly. You have successfully navigated the storm. Part 8. The Power of Presence. Ultimately, emotional discipline is the highest form of self-respect. It means you respect your goals and your character more than you respect your current mood. A person who can be baited by a comment is a person who can be easily manipulated. A person who can be rattled by a setback is a person who can be easily defeated. But a person who can feel everything, who can feel the fear and do it anyway, who can feel the anger and remain kind, who can feel the failure and remain persistent, that person is dangerous. That person is a force of nature. As you go out into the world today, remember, the world will try to provoke you. People will be rude. Traffic will be slow. Projects will fail. You cannot control those events, but you can control the pause. You can feel the fire, and you can choose not to let it burn your house down. Repetition phrase. Feel everything. React to nothing. Chapter 8. The environment shapes your discipline. Part 1. The myth of the iron will. We have a romanticized idea of what a disciplined person looks like. We imagine a hero standing in a room full of temptations, donuts on the table, a smartphone pinging constantly, a television blaring, and this hero simply stares them down with a jaw of granite, saying no through sheer mental strength. We call this willpower. And we have been taught that if we fail to stay disciplined, it is because our willpower is weak. But modern psychology and the study of human behavior tell a very different story. The most disciplined people in the world, the elite athletes, the CEOs, the master creators, actually rely on willpower less than the average person. They aren't stronger than you in the way you think. They are simply better architects. They understand a fundamental law of human nature. Your environment is the invisible hand that shapes your behavior. If you have to use willpower to resist a distraction, you have already lost a portion of your energy. If you have to resist that same distraction 100 times a day, you will eventually reach decision fatigue. Your willpower battery will run dry, and you will give in. The secret to high-level self-control is not to fight your environment, but to design an environment where discipline is the path of least resistance. Repetition phrase: design your environment, or it will design you. Part 2. The choice architecture. In the world of behavioral economics, there is a concept called choice architecture. It suggests that the way a choice is presented to you determines what you choose. Consider a famous study conducted in a hospital cafeteria. Researchers wanted to see if they could get people to drink more water and less soda without saying a single word to them. They didn't put up health posters. They didn't give lectures. They simply changed the architecture of the room. Originally, the refrigerators by the cash registers only contained soda. They added bottled water to those fridges. Then, they placed baskets of bottled water next to every food station throughout the room. The result? Soda sales dropped by 11%, and bottled water sales increased by 25%. People didn't suddenly develop iron willpower. They simply chose what was easiest. They reacted to their environment. You are doing the same thing every day. If your phone is on your desk, you will check it. If the cookies are on the counter, you will eat them. If the remote control is on the sofa, you will watch TV. You aren't lazy, you are just responding to the cues in your space. To change your life, you must change the cues. Part 3. The social mirror. Your environment isn't just the walls around you. It is the people within them. The legendary business philosopher Jim Rohn famously said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." This is not just a motivational quote, it is a biological reality. We have mirror neurons in our brains that cause us to subconsciously mimic the behaviors, speech patterns, and even the discipline levels of those around us. If you hang out with 4 people who complain about their jobs, eat junk food, and spend their weekends drinking, you will eventually become the 5th. Not because you are a bad person, but because the social friction of being different is too high. On the flip side, if you surround yourself with people who wake up early, invest their money, and obsess over their health, those behaviors become your new normal. You don't need willpower to go to the gym when all your friends are already there. Discipline becomes a social default. If you want to be a lion, you cannot keep company with sheep. You must audit your circle. Does your social environment strengthen your discipline, or does it demand that you relax and give in? Repetition phrase: design your environment, or it will design you. Part 4. The digital sanctuary. In the 21st century, our most influential environment is the one that fits in our pocket. We spend hours every day in a digital world that is intentionally designed to shatter our self-control. Your smartphone is a Vegas casino in your pocket. Every red notification badge is a cue designed to trigger an impulsive reaction. Every infinite scroll is a frictionless trap. To reclaim your discipline, you must perform a digital audit. Delete the junk. If an app doesn't make you money, make you healthier, or provide genuine, not shallow, connection, delete it. Hide the triggers. Move social media apps off your home screen and hide them in a folder on the 2nd or 3rd page. Make it hard to find them. The grayscale hack. Turn your phone display to grayscale. Without the bright, candlelight colors, your brain finds the screen significantly less stimulating. When you clean your digital environment, you stop reacting to your phone and start using it as a tool. Part 5. Structuring the physical space. Let's look at the 3 most important areas of your physical life: where you sleep, where you work, and where you eat. The kitchen, the nutrition system. Self-control starts at the grocery store, not at the dinner table. If you buy the ice cream and put it in your freezer, you have already decided that you will eventually eat it. You are just waiting for your willpower to fail at 10 p.m. Don't buy it. If you want a treat, make yourself have to put on your shoes, get in the car, and drive to the store to get it. That friction will save you 90% of the time. The office, the focus sanctuary. Your desk should only contain the tools necessary for the task at hand. If you are writing, there should be a keyboard and a screen, nothing else. Remove the snacks, remove the piles of unrelated mail, and most importantly, remove the phone. Create a deep work zone where the only thing you can do is your work. The bedroom, the recovery zone. Your bedroom should be a temple for sleep. If you have a TV in your room or you charge your phone on your nightstand, you are inviting instant gratification into your sanctuary. Move the charger to the kitchen. Use a traditional alarm clock. Make the environment dictate that when you are in bed, you are sleeping, not scrolling. Repetition phrase. Design your environment, or it will design you. Part 6. Increasing friction for bad habits. One of the most powerful ways to use your environment is the concept of friction. If you want to stop a bad habit, increase the number of steps it takes to perform that habit. Want to watch less TV? Unplug it and put the remote in a different room. Want to stop checking your phone first thing in the morning? Put it in a timed lockbox or at the bottom of your stairs. Want to spend less money? Remove your saved credit card information from your favorite shopping websites. By adding just 20 seconds of friction to a bad habit, you provide your rational brain, the prefrontal cortex, enough time to wake up and override the impulse. You make the easy choice hard. Part 7. Decreasing friction for good habits. Conversely, you must make your hard choices easy. Want to exercise? Lay your gym clothes out on your floor so you have to step over them to get out of bed. Want to drink more water? Put a liter of water on your desk before you start work. Want to read more? Place a book on your pillow every morning when you make your bed. When the queue is right in front of you and the prep work is already done, you don't need motivation. You just need to start. Part 8. The identity of the space. Finally, understand that your environment sends a message to your subconscious about who you are. If you live in a cluttered, messy, chaotic home, you are telling yourself, I am a person who is out of control. I am a person who lives in chaos. If you live in a clean, organized, and intentional space, you are telling yourself, I am a disciplined person. I am a person of order. Your environment is a physical manifestation of your mind. By tidying your room, you are tidying your thoughts. By organizing your schedule, you are organizing your life. As you go through your home and your office today, ask yourself, does this chair, this app, this person, or this item make it easier or harder for me to be the person I want to be? If it makes it harder, remove it. Stop trying to be a hero of willpower. Be an architect of environment. Repetition phrase. Design your environment, or it will design you. Chapter 9. Do the hard things first. Part 1. The weight of avoidance. Think about the thing you are currently avoiding. Perhaps it's a difficult conversation with a partner or an employee. Perhaps it's a complex project at work that feels overwhelming. Perhaps it's a doctor's appointment, a tax filing, or a grueling workout. We all have that one thing that sits at the back of our minds like a dark cloud, casting a shadow over everything else we do. Most people handle this hard thing by pushing it to the end of the day. They tell themselves, I'll get to it once I've cleared my inbox, or I'll do it after I've had my coffee and watched the news. They seek momentum by doing easy things first. But this is a psychological delusion. Every minute you spend avoiding the hard thing, you are leaking mental energy. That cloud in the back of your mind is draining your battery. By the time 4 p.m. rolls around and you finally decide to face the task, your willpower is gone. You are exhausted from the mere act of avoiding the work, and so you push it to tomorrow. This cycle of avoidance is the primary cause of stress, anxiety, and stagnation. The disciplined individual understands that self-control is not just about what you do, but when you do it. Repetition phrase. Easy choices build hard lives. Hard choices build easy lives. Part 2. The Eat That Frog Principle. Mark Twain famously said, if it's your job to eat a frog, it's best to do it first thing in the morning. And if it's your job to eat 2 frogs, it's best to eat the big one first. In the context of self-control, the frog is the task you are most likely to procrastinate on. It is the task that requires the most cognitive load, the most emotional courage, or the most physical effort. When you eat the frog at 8 a.m., something miraculous happens to your psychology. You experience a massive surge of dopamine-driven victory. You have won the most important battle of the day before most people have even finished their breakfast. The rest of your day becomes a downhill cruise. The cloud is gone. You feel lighter, more confident, and more capable. Contrast this with the person who does the easy things first. They check their emails, they tidy their desk, they scroll through social media to wake up. By noon, they have done a lot of activity, but they have made 0 progress. They are still carrying the weight of the frog. The elite do not negotiate with their frogs. They wake up, they identify the difficulty, and they move toward it immediately. Part 3. The anterior mid-cingulate cortex, the willpower center. For a long time, scientists wondered if there was a specific part of the brain responsible for grit, the ability to do things we don't want to do. Recently, neuroscientists have identified a structure called the anterior mid-cingulate cortex, AMCC. The research is stunning. When people do something they don't want to do, like taking a cold shower, exercising when tired, or focusing on a boring task, the AMCC actually grows in size and activity. However, when people do something they enjoy, or when they take the easy path, the AMCC does not grow. In fact, if you stop challenging yourself, this part of your brain begins to wither. This means that discipline is a physical structure in your head. Every time you do the hard thing first, you are literally making your brain larger and more resilient. You are becoming a person who is biologically capable of handling more stress and more difficulty than the average person. When you choose comfort, you are choosing brain atrophy. When you choose the hard thing, you are choosing evolution. Repetition phrase: easy choices build hard lives. Hard choices build easy lives. Part 4. The 5-second rule and the death of feeling like it. The greatest enemy of self-control is the phrase, "I don't feel like it." We have been conditioned to believe that we must be in the right mood to do great work. We wait for the spark of motivation. But as we discussed in Chapter 6, motivation is a liar. If you wait until you feel like exercising, you might only exercise twice a month. The disciplined person uses the 5-second rule, popularized by Mel Robbins. The moment you have an impulse to do a hard thing, like getting out of bed or starting a difficult report, you count backward, 5-4-3-2-1 go. The countdown interrupts the habit loops of hesitation and fear in your brain. It prevents your mind from coming up with excuses. By the time you hit 1, you must physically move. Self-control is the ability to act independently of your feelings. You don't need to feel inspired to work. You don't need to feel energetic to train. You just need to move your body. Once the body moves, the mind will eventually follow. Action creates the mood. The mood does not create the action. Part 5. Front-loading your day. The blueprint for a disciplined life is built on front-loading. This means putting the most difficult, most taxing activities in the first 25% of your waking hours. The physical front load. Many of the world's most successful people exercise early, not because they love 5 a.m. workouts, but because it buys them their discipline for the day. If you have already conquered a heavy barbell or a 3-mile run before the sun is up, how much can a stressful email really hurt you? You have already done the hardest thing you will do all day. The creative front load. Your brain is at its highest capacity for deep work shortly after waking. Don't waste those golden hours on low-value tasks like meetings or administrative work. Use your power hours for the big frog, the coding, the writing, the strategizing. When you front-load your life, you are playing the game on easy mode in the afternoon. When you backload your life, you are trying to climb a mountain at night while you're exhausted. Repetition phrase: easy choices build hard lives. Hard choices build easy lives. Part 6. Confronting the elephant in the room. Doing the hard thing isn't just about productivity, it's about emotional integrity. Often, the hard thing is a conversation we are avoiding or a truth we don't want to admit. We tell ourselves that by waiting for the right time to bring up a problem, we are being patient. In reality, we are being cowardly. Avoidance is just a slow-acting poison. A problem ignored does not disappear. It festers. It grows into resentment, debt, or disease. Discipline is the courage to have the hard conversation now. It is the discipline to look at your bank account even when you know the balance is low. It is the discipline to admit you made a mistake before someone else points it out. When you confront the elephant immediately, you kill the anxiety that avoidance creates. The hard choice of honesty leads to the easy life of a clear conscience. Part 7. Building the difficulty habit. How do you start if you've been choosing easy for years? You start with voluntary hardship. Intentionally seek out small, difficult things to do every day just for the sake of doing them. Take a 30-second cold plunge at the end of your shower. Walk up the stairs instead of taking the elevator. Read a difficult piece of philosophy instead of watching a sitcom. When you feel the urge to complain about the weather, stop yourself. These small acts of choosing hard are training for the big battles. You are proving to yourself that you are the type of person who does not shy away from discomfort. You are building the hard thing habit. Eventually, you will reach a point where the easy way actually feels uncomfortable to you. You will start to crave the challenge, because you know that on the other side of that challenge lies a better version of yourself. Part 8. The ultimate result. Look at the people who have hard lives. Usually, they are people who consistently made easy choices. They chose the easy meal, fast food, the easy evening, TV, the easy job, no growth, and the easy path, avoiding conflict. Now, in their 40s, 50s, or 60s, their life is incredibly hard. They have health problems, financial instability, and unfulfilled dreams. Now, look at the people who have easy lives. These are people who, for decades, made hard choices. They chose the hard workout, the hard study session, the hard investment strategy, and the hard conversations. Now, their life is easy. They have health, they have wealth, they have respect, and they have peace. Which life do you want? The choice happens now. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right now. What is the hard thing you are avoiding? Put down this book, or stop this recording, and go do it. Repetition phrase. Easy choices build hard lives. Hard choices build easy lives. Chapter 10. Become the person who controls himself. Part 1. Beyond the habit. We have traveled through the blueprint of self-control. We have discussed the mirrors of your life, the power of the pause, the mechanics of delayed gratification, the architecture of your environment, and the necessity of doing the hard things first. But if you view these as merely a list of tasks to perform or rules to follow, you are missing the point. You are still treating self-control like a chore, like something you have to do to get what you want. True mastery occurs when you move beyond doing discipline and begin being disciplined. This is the identity shift. In the beginning, you might say, I am trying to be more controlled, or I am trying to wake up early. But as long as you use the word trying, you are leaving the door open for failure. You are telling your subconscious that your true self is still the person who hits snooze, but you're just putting on a costume for a while. The goal of this blueprint is to reach the moment where you say, I am the person who wakes up at 5 a.m., or I am the person who does not react to insults. When self-control becomes your identity, it no longer requires willpower. It simply becomes what you do. It is no longer a struggle, it is a standard. Repetition phrase. Self-control is self-respect. Part 2. The self-trust account. Think of your relationship with yourself like a bank account. Every time you set an alarm and actually get out of bed, you make a deposit into your self-trust account. Every time you say you're going to work for 2 hours and you actually do it, you make a deposit. Every time you feel an urge to snap at someone and you choose the pause instead, you make a deposit. Conversely, every time you break a promise to yourself, when you say you'll eat healthy and then eat the junk, when you say you'll start the project and then scroll on your phone, you are making a withdrawal. Most people are bankrupt within their own minds. They have lied to themselves so many times that they no longer believe their own words. When they say, "Tomorrow, I'm going to change my life," a voice in the back of their head laughs and says, "No, you won't. You never do." This is why so many people suffer from low self-esteem. It's not because the world is mean to them. It's because they have lost the trust of the person in the mirror. Self-control is the process of rebuilding that trust. It is the process of proving to yourself, one small kept promise at a time, that you are a person of integrity. When your self-trust account is full, you possess a quiet, unshakable confidence. You don't need to brag or prove yourself to others, because you have already earned the respect of the one person who matters most. Part 3. The quiet confidence of the mastered mind. There is a specific kind of gravitas that surrounds a person who has mastered themselves. You can feel it when they walk into a room. They aren't loud. They aren't frantic. They aren't desperate for attention. Because they control their impulses, they are not easily manipulated. You cannot bait them with an insult. You cannot distract them with a shiny object. You cannot buy them with a cheap reward. They have an internal compass that is more powerful than any external pressure. This internal stability is the ultimate form of power. In a world of people who are reacting to everything, the person who responds with intention is the one who leads. People naturally gravitate toward those who have self-control because they represent safety, reliability, and strength. When you become the person who controls himself, you stop being a passenger in your life and start being the captain. You realize that while you cannot control the wind or the waves, you have total control over the sails. Repetition phrase: self-control is self-respect. Part 4. The loneliness of the elite. We must be honest. The path of self-control can be a lonely one, especially at first. When you start choosing the hard path, your old friends might make fun of you. They might call you boring or tell you that you need to live a little. They will try to pull you back down into the shallows of instant gratification because your discipline makes them feel guilty about their own lack of it. But as you continue to climb, the air gets clearer. You will begin to attract a new kind of person, the kind of person who respects your boundaries, who is inspired by your work ethic, and who shares your vision for a mastered life. You are not missing out on the party. You are building the empire. You are not losing your freedom. You are gaining the freedom to be exactly who you were meant to be. The pleasures of the undisciplined are shallow and temporary. The satisfaction of the disciplined is deep, permanent, and soul-level. Part 5. The eternal practice. Self-control is not a destination you reach and then stay at forever. It is not like a degree you hang on a wall. It is more like a garden. No matter how beautiful your garden is today, if you stop tending to it, the weeds will return. The impulses will always be there. The limbic system never goes away. There will be days when you are tired. There will be days when you fail. There will be days when the easy choice looks incredibly tempting. The difference between the amateur and the master is how they handle these moments. The master knows that one bad meal doesn't ruin a diet, and one missed workout doesn't ruin a physique. They don't spiral into self-shame. They simply return to the blueprint. They return to the pause. They return to the system. Discipline is a lifestyle, not a 30-day challenge. It is the commitment to the long game in a world that is obsessed with the short term. Repetition phrase: self-control is self-respect. Part 6. Summary of the blueprint. As we reach the end of this journey, let us look back at the pillars we have built. Reflection. Your life is a mirror. If you don't like the reflection, change your discipline. The pause. Stop reacting. Reclaim the space between the world and your response. Delayed gratification. Trade the now for the forever. Wait for the second marshmallow. Attention. Guard your focus like your life depends on it, because it does. Silence. Speak less, observe more, and never reveal your hand too early. Systems. Stop relying on motivation. Build the tracks that make success automatic. Emotional mastery. Feel the fire, but refuse to let it burn you. Emotions are data. Environment. Design your space so that the hard choice is the only choice. The hard thing first. Eat the frog. Build the muscle of grit every morning. And finally, identity. See yourself as the master. See yourself as the architect. Part 7. The final question. What would your life look like 1 year from today if you followed this blueprint with 100% commitment? Imagine that version of you. Look at their body. Look at their bank account. Look at the calm, focused expression in their eyes. Look at the respect they receive from their peers and the love they give to their family. That person is not a different human being. They don't have a different brain. They don't have better luck. They are simply the version of you that decided to stop being a slave to their impulses. Self-control is the key that unlocks every other door in life. Without it, talent is wasted, opportunities are squandered, and potential is buried. With it, you are a force of nature. You have the blueprint. You have the tools. You have the knowledge. The only thing left is the decision. Will you be a person who is controlled by the world? Or will you be the person who controls himself? Choose wisely, because your life is waiting for you to lead it. Repetition phrase: self-control is self-respect.